All right. Hello, everybody. My name is Jafar Beg. Today, we are going to have a session about Qatar and UAE. We will discuss study abroad in these countries, scholarships, admission, visa process, and other important information that you might want to find out about these countries. So let's get started. This is our agenda for today. First, I will just give brief information about myself. Then we will discuss some information about education in Qatar and UAE. I will try to be as specific as possible. Uh, Later, we will also talk about the scholarships. So I have brought several examples of scholarships available for international students like you from Uzbekistan, for example, that are available in Qatar and UAE. Next, we will discuss requirements and important deadlines. Deadlines are important because it is always wise to start early, but you should be aware of until when you can apply to universities. And if you miss any deadlines, it might even mean that you will be required to take a gap year, which could delay your academic and professional goals. So knowing deadlines is important. That's why we have included some deadlines for you in this today's webinar. Uh, Finally, I will talk about Globstudy, our consulting firm, and the last section of this webinar will be just Q&A, question and answer session. Okay, I'm excited to get started. Again, as I just told you, I'd like to tell you about myself a few words. I graduated from Duke Munshan and Duke University with full scholarship. I founded Globstudy in 2021. Since then, we have been working to help students from Uzbekistan, Central Asian, and other CIS countries to get scholarship and get visa to abroad countries such as USA, Canada, Europe, uh, Asian countries, and etc. I am also founder of Google developers group Samarkand, and I also do research in artificial intelligence. So that is one of the fields that I'm highly interested in, and would love to talk with you about that, as of course. Now, let's go ahead and talk about scholarships. So scholarships, as you might know, is a way of funding your education. In countries like Qatar and UAE, generally Middle East, universities will cost a lot of money, of course, and average tuition fees, I could tell you, could be something around 20 to 25 or even $30,000. And to fund those expenses, plus your living expenses, some universities, as well as government, might offer you scholarships, right? So scholarship is just a way to decrease your educational expenses. It could be in various forms. Some universities give you merit scholarships, usually with no return. So you are not expected to give any kind of money in return to them, like, for example, after graduation. However, some government scholarships, especially well-known Qatar Foundation scholarship, could have some conditions that you will be required to do some work in the country after you graduate. So you must be aware of these conditions of scholarship before you even apply to the university or the government funding. Next, I would like to talk to you about a couple of specific universities and scholarships in UAE. So again, in today's webinar, specific themes that we will be talking about will be mostly UAE and Qatar. However, I will be open to talk about other countries as well, like Saudi Arabia, Europe, and etc., whichever interests you. But some of the well-known universities and scholarships in the UAE, the United Arab Emirates, include NYU Abu Dhabi, that is one of the campuses of New York University, which is originally in the US, University of Dubai, American University of Sharjah, which is also very well known, and it has top ranking, provides up to full scholarships, as well as University of Khalifa, Middlesex University from the UK, and American University in Dubai. Most of these universities, which you see on your screen now, do provide scholarships for international students, and they usually have some generous terms. About some of these universities and scholarships, we will discuss a little more in detail in just a few seconds. But first, before I go into details, let me also briefly introduce you to the scholarships and universities in Qatar. In Qatar, there's Qatar University, which is like public university of Qatar. And there's also a lot of universities which are campuses of American, UK, and Canadian universities, which include Carnegie Mellon University in Qatar, Northwestern University in Qatar, and a few others. Among the public universities like that are originally founded by Qatar government or like education department include Hamad bin Khalifa University, Doha Institute for Graduate Studies, and there's also a Qatar Foundation, which I just mentioned, which provides funding for international students to cover their educational expenses as well as living expenses. So it could be interesting to find out about those funding opportunities for you if you plan to study in the Middle East area. As you can notice, both in Qatar and UAE, which is very common in these countries, is the fact that most of the universities are campuses of universities in the US, UK, Canada, and some other European countries. This is because international education is promoted by the government, and universities are also interested in opening up their campuses. So this is like two-way initiative for promoting education in the Middle East. So some universities open their campuses in the UAE or in Qatar, for example, and they offer the same degrees, but in different environment, right? And this is compelling offer for most students, especially like, for example, the NYU Abu Dhabi, the Abu Dhabi campus of New York University offers up to fully funded scholarships to international students, while the original NYU University, like in the New York City, Manhattan, they are not really good with scholarships for international students. They usually give now scholarships, right? So this opens up even new opportunities for international students who should be considering to get the same degrees, but in different environments and with more funding, right? That is why we are hosting this webinar today to inform you about such opportunities, universities, and scholarships so that you apply to them and you reach your academic goals as well as professional goals in these areas. Some quick facts about Qatar and UAE before I move on further. I'd like to mention first is that bachelor degrees in these countries are usually 3 to 4 years. 3 years, why? Because some of the UK universities located in UAE or Qatar, they offer 3-year bachelor degrees. And of course, as it is standard for getting enrolled into UK university for Uzbekistani students, for example, you will be needed to complete foundation year studies. The same applies to campuses of these universities in Qatar and UAE. Most of the universities do offer undergraduate programs in English, though it could be limited to mostly private universities or international campuses of universities from, again, USA, UK, and Canada. So you will be needed to check out information on the websites of universities, whether or not they offer English taught programs for undergraduate, maybe as well as graduate and PhD studies. PhD studies could be generally available in English, and they do not really put strict policies for language requirement for PhD level studies usually. Yeah. For foreign students in Qatar, scholarships are available sometimes with full coverage of study and accommodation costs. Sometimes it depends on the university. For example, some universities might provide you with just full tuition scholarships, or they might just give you some certain discount off your tuition fees. Let's say it could be 50% discount or like 10%, 20%, and etc. And as I just mentioned, you can see the fact number 5, both UAE and Qatar are home for leading global universities, their campuses, such as, again, New York University in Abu Dhabi, Sorbonne University. I think that one is originally in France. And one interesting fact that you must know about both Qatar and UAE is that visa process for these countries usually is initiated by university through the government. So visa process, although it seems easy at first hand, but visa process for both of these countries is a complicated process. So you will be required to complete multiple steps. The first being paying enrollment deposit for university if you're enrolled with not full tuition scholarship or fully funded scholarship, let's say. So you'll be required to pay deposit first and then receive confirmation from university about your visa process. They usually start this process through the government, and they get you some special documents for applying to visa. After you receive those documents, which are applicable to applying to visa, then you can fill out application online and submit the application to the Qatar or UAE government immigration department for review, and your visa usually gets either like approved or rejected within 1 to 1.5 months. Yeah, the process I would say is not long. It's pretty average, like comparable to most other countries. But visa acceptance chances for both Qatar and UAE are much higher than, for example, for UK, for Canada, and USA especially. For Qatar and UAE, usually you get your visa approved. Like there's like pretty much high chances that you will get it approved. Yeah. Uh, in both countries, university studies usually start in fall semester. So that is like in September or October sometimes. But some universities might offer you spring semester dates as well, such as starting in February or in March or in January, depending on the university policies. But standard deadlines are for fall semester, and deadlines that I will be talking about in the couple of next slides will be exclusively for fall semester, okay? And the dates displayed on this page, which is February to March, deadlines for Qatar and UAE, are also for fall term of each year. So now let's take a look into some details of specific universities in UAE and talk about the deadlines, the scholarships, and ranking of the university. All right. The first university I'd like to display to you is going to be American University of Sharjah, which is one of the top universities in the world, according to QS, top universities ranking website. American University of Sharjah is ranked among the top 300 universities of the world, which is, if I'm not mistaken, #2 or #3 university in the UAE. So this is an excellent university for those seeking degrees in master's and bachelor's, potentially with some scholarship. They offer a variety of majors. I would recommend you to check out their website for availability of some specific majors. And admission requirements usually include standard documents such as your previous degree diploma, like high school diploma or bachelor's degree diploma for master's, right? As well as English language proficiency tests such as IELTS 6.5, TOEFL 80, or some other form of examination in English language. SAT and ACT scores could be useful for your admission, especially for American University of Sharjah. They might prefer students with SATs because SATs is one way to prove your academic ability, especially in math and critical thinking. So with such scores, your chances of getting a scholarship could be even higher. If we talk about the cost of American University of Sharjah, then I must mention that their average tuition, please note that I'm saying average because tuition for varying on the program and major, it could be lower or higher. Average tuition is around 105,000 dirhams, which is around $30,000 US dollars. And for most of the majors available and programs, there are scholarships, merit scholarships covering up to 100% of the tuition. Some scholarships, as you can check on their website, might have specific deadlines like March 15 or even earlier, or in April, let's say. So there are a variety of scholarships which I recommend you to check deadlines way ahead of your deadline for the program. And most of the application deadlines for these programs at University of Sharjah, American University of Sharjah, sorry, is going to be in April by the 30th of the April. So yes, now next, let's talk about Khalifa University. Khalifa University is another prestigious university located in Abu Dhabi, United Arab Emirates. They also have variety of programs, but their special focus is going to be on the programs which involve engineering and sciences. They put special emphasis on the engineering and science fields. So if you would like to major in either engineering or computer sciences, mathematics, statistics, data science, AI, then Khalifa University could be one of the good choices for you. They also do offer scholarships, again, up to full scholarships for undergraduate programs for international students. Their requirements for English and SAT could be average, but of course, you recommended to have higher scores both in English and SAT and in your high school or university records so that you will have higher chances of getting admission. Uh, Regular deadlines for Khalifa University are going to be again in April. On their website, it is stated that for some programs, deadline is April 30. For graduate programs, it's much earlier, like April 15. But depending on the scholarship program that you would like to apply to, deadlines could be even earlier. So you must check the deadline again much early, like probably right now, I would say today or tomorrow, so that you do not miss the deadlines. Because again, missing the deadlines could delay your academic and professional goals up to like 1 to 2 years. So you got to be careful in that point. I'm not sure why my slides are broken, but never mind. So yeah, Khalifa University, you can see their modern campus, right? It is pretty much like art of architecture, I would say, again, located in Abu Dhabi. So I highly encourage you to apply to this university if you want to get top quality education, especially in engineering and science, plus business with some scholarships. There are also some universities in Qatar, which I would like to mention, like Qatar University. Again, I'm sorry that my slides are broken. This is some technical mistake. But yeah, if we talk about universities and scholarships in Qatar, then the first thing we must mention is Qatar University itself. It is one of the top universities. I do not remember the ranking, but it's definitely among the top 300 universities, if I'm not mistaken. And they have earlier application deadlines. Some of their programs had deadlines in February, and some of the programs are still accepting applications, I think probably until the end of next week or even this week. So you must check out the information on their website, on the Qatar University's website, probably this week or next week if you're interested in applying to this. There's also several other universities, again, like University of Doha for Science and Technology, which has deadline of application for April. They do also offer scholarships for both undergraduate studies. So you must check out their website again. And I'm not going to mention the university programs offered by like campuses of American universities for Qatar, like Carnegie Mellon University in Qatar, Northwestern, Georgetown University in Qatar, and etc. But you can check out the information. The reason I'm not going to talk about them is that almost all of their deadlines are over. They were over either in January or in February of this 2025 year. So even if you're interested in finding out, then I would say you probably do that a little later, maybe definitely after finding out about Qatar University's admission policies and scholarships and deadline. But yes, but you just be aware that Qatar University is one of the good universities, but there are also other good universities like campuses of international universities, which I would also encourage you to check out information about. In this slide, I would like to talk a little about the main requirements for most of the admissions into universities. I would say this page would apply to both UAE and Qatar, and even Europe and USA and other countries. So this page is going to be important because many people do not understand why, for example, they apply to top university and get rejected, or why they apply to some scholarship and then they get rejected for the scholarship. Some people think that if you just apply to certain scholarship program, you automatically get accepted, but that is not true, right? Most of us pretty much know that scholarships are competitive, as well as some universities ranked very high, like among top 100, top 200 universities. They also are pretty much competitive, and they select each candidate one by one. and they expect certain things in the students. They want to find out about you through the application materials that you submitted. But what do those application materials consist of? Let's talk about this topic now, okay? First and foremost, I would say that one of the main requirements that you need to fulfill is a strong motivation to study in a certain program or with certain scholarship. The reason is that most of the universities accept students into certain programs because they have a clear goal and they have purpose, their background is strong, right? For example, in the case of, I don't remember the university name, but let's see, in the case of Khalifa University, as I mentioned, most of their focus is on engineering, sciences, right? So if you're applying to a university which is top for engineering and science, they, of course, first of all, expect you to be good at engineering and have a strong desire to continue your career or academia in the engineering field or in science field, right? So you must demonstrate this interest and motivation in your motivation letters or in your application, as well as other components of the materials that you will be submitting. Second, since the official language of the program, like the language of instruction for the programs that you'll be applying to in Qatar and UAE will be English, you will be required to submit your IELTS or other English proficiency scores. If you talk about IELTS, then usually they require IELTS 6.5. I think you saw some of the IELTS requirements for the universities I displayed to you a little earlier. But yeah, 6.5 is generally accepted by most of the universities. But some universities accept alternative test scores such as TOEFL, or sometimes it could be possible that your SAT waives your English language requirement because you also do reading test in the SAT test, right? If we talk about graduate studies, by the way, I forgot to include information about graduate exams, but if we talk about graduate studies, then some universities might require you to submit your GRE or GMAT test scores. GMAT and GRE are generally required for most of the selective undergraduate, master's graduate programs. GRE is more math heavy, I would say, compared to a GMAT, but GMAT is also very difficult test. So you will be needed to take either of these tests depending on the major. If you talk about the major, then GMAT is usually required for majors like business, economics, management, while GRE exam is required for engineering, science, and relevant fields. So as I said, engineering is mostly related to like math, right? That is why GRE is more math heavy than, for example, GMAT test. Next point I would like to mention, which universities or university admission officers expect to see in your profile, is good school or university performance. Out of 4 GPA, which is like American standard, right? You're expected to have at least 3.5 grade point average. 3.5 is considered a very good score, I would say. But the higher you have, the higher chances you will have of getting accepted. The higher GPA, like let's say 4.0 out of 4 or 3.9 out of 4. GPA is considered as important factor for most universities, especially those which accept to science and engineering fields. So please pay attention to your school performance or university performance, and do not skip the classes, or like do not think that your grades from classes will not affect anything in your future. All right, grades from school and university are important and will be considered for scholarships and admission for universities. The following item I would like to talk about is generally can be categorized as everything you do outside of your school or university, outside of your studies, right? So these are called extracurricular activities or like leadership activities. I think some of you might know a lot of information about volunteering, competitions, certain conferences like TED Talks, MUNs, or science competitions, and etc. So all of these things will also be taken into important consideration by universities when you will be applying to scholarships, especially because when they award scholarships, when they accept you into certain program, they expect that you will be a leader of your future, leader in your field, or a pioneer in some technology innovation, right? They expect that you will be committed to the field, and you will not just, let's say, drop your studies or your field midway. So therefore, you are required to demonstrate some leadership and some good set of activities during your application when you apply to undergraduate and graduate studies. In the leadership activities or like extracurriculars, we could also include research experience, because research is also considered as important thing when they will be reviewing your application. If you have done any research in the past, be it for bachelor's program or for master's program, it could be playing an important role, especially in securing scholarship, because most of the universities have their top rankings just because, sorry, not just because, but primarily because of the research output that they have from students, from faculty. And of course, there are other important factors which affect the ranking of the university. But research is one of the important factors, I would say, and it will be better if you demonstrate some research experience and interest in doing research, especially if you're applying to master's and PhD programs, right? The final thing admission officers expect to see in your application is recommendations. So they want to find out what other people say about you, how you showed your personality and work ethics, study ethics to other people, to other teachers or professors. So therefore, some universities will require you to submit letters of recommendation. And for letters of recommendation, you need to consider one important thing. That is, request and recommendation usually takes some time. So if, let's say, application deadline is March 15 or March 30, let's say, then you better request recommendation letter from your professor or teacher at least 15 days before the deadline, because usually what universities do require is they want your professors or teachers to submit the recommendation letter from their own inbox. So in this case, you will be required to write down the inbox, the email of your professor in the application field, and university sends an invitation letter to their email, after which your professor or teacher needs to fill out the form and write a few words describing your character and personality and submit to university. This is, again, as you see, a process. So if you decide to apply to any university, I would suggest that you complete the recommendation request first, so that you request a recommendation from your professor, and it will take about 1 to 2 weeks before the deadline, and you will have enough time to apply to the university by application deadline, right? So yes, as I've just mentioned, we have talked about the main requirements that most of the universities, including in Qatar and UAE, expect to see in your profile. Of course, the better, like the higher scores that you will have in IELTS, in grade point average at your school, or in other activities, the higher chances of you will be there for getting admitted to specific programs. But it is not always the grades, the like test scores that, let's say, make decisive factor, like that get you into universities. Even if, let's say, you have SAT score of like 1500, it might not mean that you will certainly get admitted to some university, because SATs and like GPAs, or like, let's say, leadership activities, they're only one section of the application review process. There are other factors, and depending on university, again, they will be prioritizing certain students with certain, let's say, background or interest, as well as extracurriculars experience, right? Therefore, you should take a holistic approach to meeting the requirements set by university, and be as good as possible for the program or major that you're applying to, and show your true interest into the, let's say, future of the program that you're applying to. You must convince them that you will become a leader in this field, and do something good for the people and for the society that you live in. All right. Final thing I think I will be talking about for Qatar and UAE is average costs in these countries. As you know, living and studying in Qatar and UAE, it's not cheap thing, right? The tuition fees in both countries are expensive. In Qatar, usually it could be 16 to $20,000 per year, while accommodation and food could cost you around $16,000 a year. Again, there are scholarships which would cover either your tuition fees or give you some stipend or do both. But it depends on the university policies again. So I cannot tell you exactly now, like if you apply to certain university, then your living and tuition expenses will be this much. This is something that needs to be verified individually for each person. And similarly for UAE, I would say costs are roughly the same. But of course, you should know that some programs, like especially by international campuses of the universities from USA, UK, their tuition fees and expenses could be much higher. Like in the case of, let's say, New York University in Abu Dhabi, their cost is usually something like $60,000 for tuition and another $20,000 at least for living expenses. So these numbers, I would say, mostly match the public universities, like universities that are located originally in UAE. So when doing research on the cost and scholarships in UAE, you should sorry, you should just know that the actual expenses could be a lot higher than the average figures that you see on your screen. All right. Now, a few words about Globstudy. I think most of the people who are participating in this webinar already know some information about Globstudy. So we're a consulting firm based in Samarkand and Tashkent. We offer services for mentorship and visa to the students who want to apply to universities in North America, in Europe, in Asia, and Australia. I think there's several slides which I would like to display to you about like our success and figures that we have been making, of which we're proud. So during the last year, for example, we made such success that one of the first students from Uzbekistan public school got admitted into University of Toronto in Canada with fully funded scholarship, Lester B. Pearson International Scholarship, which is awarded only to 36 people every year. This is awarded by University of Toronto, which is like number 20 in the whole world. We also have several other students who got full scholarships annually. If we calculate, then 50 to 60 students every year from Globstudy get full scholarships into universities in the US, Canada, Europe, Asia, as well as Australia. These are the features you can see on your screen. And we outstand from other companies or like other people who provide similar services because of our higher visa approval rate. Most of the students who work with us and apply to universities and countries, they have very high chances of getting approved for their visa request because we approach this process very professionally and we collect documents on time and submit them to the required embassies without mistakes. If you would like to get more information about, let's say, studying in Qatar, living in Qatar, UAE, getting scholarships, admission policies, deadlines, or mentorship application services, and other programs that we have, then feel free to reach out to us below on your screen. You can see the contact information. You can reach out to us on Telegram, or you can call us within our office hours, or you can just visit our office in Samarkand or Tashkent. So for this, it is better for you to reach out to admin account in Telegram and find out more information. All right. Okay. Now I think, okay, yeah, before I finish and we go to Q&A session, question and answers, I'd like to give you 3 top tips which I have learned throughout my career of 5 years of admission consulting. So 3 top tips which I would love to give you is, first, you must start early. You might be thinking that you have a lot of time, like let's say some universities, as we see in UAE, have deadlines in April or maybe even in May. But you're pretty late, I would say, because you have only less than 1 month to collect your documents and submit your application to the required university, because you must have enough time to research those universities, learn about them, fill out their application, approach this process, with care and with thoroughness. And this time could be actually very good fit for those who want to apply to Qatar and UAE. But again, you must really hurry, because you might think that you have time, but it is really going to fade away quickly. Like March is going to go so quickly that you do not even notice how application deadline approached. You need to approach admission process strategically and realistically. Let me explain it in a few words. What I mean is that some people think like if they just take 5 scholarships or 10 scholarships or universities and randomly apply to them, they will just have good chances of getting admitted. Like let's say they apply to 10 scholarships, so they must get at least 2 to 3 of these scholarships awarded. However, that is not true. I would say taking some list of universities which are random, or some list of scholarships which are again random, and applying to them just because they give scholarships, just because they save you money, is not the right approach. You need to be very careful and check out scholarship and university process and their philosophy, their requirements, their expectations of students individually, and make decision based on the information that you read. For example, as we saw, for some universities, they seek students who are good in science and engineering. Some universities might seek students who are good in, let's say, humanities or like social sciences, economics, uh, politics, international relations, and etc. So depending on, again, the requirements, expectations, and philosophy of each scholarship program and universities, you must approach them individually and strategically. You must plan ahead, of course, and you need to be realistic with your chances of admission or acceptance into scholarship, because scholarships do have quota, just like universities do. They do not just give the award, let's say, to every student that applies to it. So you need to compare yourself in such scenario. You need to compare yourself to other candidates who will be applying to the same scholarship or program that you're applying to. And you need to be realistic of the chances that you're having, because if you, let's say, have below the average GPA, or you do not have GMAT while program recommends you to take GMAT test, then your chances could be a little lower, and you need to figure out how to approach your plan B or plan C, and etc. And again, yes, the third, I would say, tip, which is highly related to tip number 2 that I just gave, do not just apply to all scholarships. All right. This is important because some people, again, think applying to, let's say, number of things like 20 or 30 could increase your chances. But the thing is that what can really increase your chances is becoming above the average student, right? You can imagine, or you can see information about average student that is admitted to universities like Qatar University, Hamad bin Khalifa, and etc. You can statistically see that you could become above the average if you fulfill certain requirements, like let's say taking GRE and getting 320 score in GRE, right? Or taking your subjects at university or high school and performing 5 GPA out of 5 or 4 out of 4, and etc. So those things are really important, and you need to be, again, strategic with this process and skip the step of applying to everything that you see on the internet, because there are a lot of information sources, websites, Telegram channels, or social media web pages that give you information about different scholarships. And before even thinking about how to apply to them, like wanting to apply to them, I mean, you need to check what they want, who they accept into this program, what are the expectations after you complete this program, and other things that are important for them and for you as well. Yeah, so those are some of the tips that I wanted to give you, and information that we want to discuss about Qatar and UAE. Again, in this webinar, we discussed general information about education system in Qatar and UAE. Then we turned to admissions and scholarships. We reviewed information about some universities and later talked about the tuition and our other relevant costs, right? I hope this webinar was useful. The purpose we did this webinar is because we want to urge students to, let's say, think about applying to Qatar and UAE universities and opportunities, because now is the right time. During the months of March and April, most of the universities, like public universities in those countries, have application deadlines. So this is why it is like important call for you, basically message for you to just wake up and start thinking about applying to universities both in Qatar and UAE. Yeah. All right, that's it for me now. Thank you for listening to me. Now I'd like to accept a few questions before we finish our today's webinar. You could either type your question or just unmute yourself and speak up. All right, either is fine. Do we have any questions?
Yes, I have a question.
All right, yes. Ulugbek, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, I'm listening to you. You can speak, please.
Okay. In conclusion, we can submit our we can submit to these universities by using your service, right? Your company's service.
Of course, yes, if you need to. So application for these universities, if it's open, you can just log in into the portal, collect the documents and submit. But if you seem to require some assistance, like let's say you need some guidance on how to fill certain documents or how to write essays and how to approach university admissions and etc., then of course you're recommended to use services of professionals of the field who can provide you with information, guidance, mentorship, visa services, and etc.
Okay.
All right. Thank you for the question, Quanchbeck. Do you have anything else to ask, or does anyone else want to ask question? Feel free to again unmute yourself and speak. Okay, I think that there is a question uh, in the chat. It's in Russian, so I'm going to just read it out loud in Russian. Всемирно ли признаны филиалы университетов других стран как оригинальные? Okay, Tohir Ashrafov, thank you for your question. I think this question is pretty good because we didn't touch this information. So the question is asking about the reputation and the whether the degree received from campus of the university is recognized as the degree that you received from original campus of the university, like let's say in the case of NYU, right? New York University in New York campus or in Abu Dhabi. Well, I would say it depends on each university. It depends on the degree that you receive after completion. If let's say you study at campus of the university in UAE, you complete your education and you receive degree, which is originally given from like the original campus from USA, let's say, then it will have the same recognition, the same reputation, the same ranking, right? There is no difference. However, if university that is, let's say, said to be such like campus of some XYZ university in the US or in UK, if they award a degree which is different from the original degree, let's say it is a degree recognized by UAE government, like UAE education department, then it might not have the same recognition, right? So to check information about each university, I would recommend that you check out their website for information about degree that you will receive upon completion. They usually state information about the degree qualification that you are expected to get after you finish the program. Thank you for the question. All right. If there's any more questions, I could accept one more question. If there's none, then I think we are good to finish today's webinar. So I'm going to give you a couple of seconds. Okay, there's one more question by Tohir. It's about transferring to other universities. I would have to say that transfer could be easy if, let's say, it's international campus of some UK university in Dubai, right? Then you could easily transfer your studies into some other university in UK, like into London, let's say. Similarly for USA, if it's some university of USA which has campus in Dubai, you're studying there, let's say first year or second year studies, then you could easily transfer your studies into original campus or the other university in the US, which offers similar degree, right? But I would say transfer doesn't really depend on where you study, which university you study. It depends on the recognition of the degree that you are expected to receive and recognition of the university as well. I mean, whether or not the university is accredited, like accreditation, organization, information, which is again usually written on the website. So, but general response would be that if you're thinking about transferring, like going into UAE or Qatar for studies, and then transferring your studies to some other university in the US or UK for third year studies, let's say, then the process is possible. Like you can pretty much do it. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, that was the last question. Since our time is limited, we have to go now. I would like to thank you all for coming today to our webinar, listening to the information. I really hope that information I gave during today's session was useful for you to form your educational and professional goals. I hope to see you in other Globstudy events, which will be held during the next week and the following days after that. So yeah, thank you again. Have a nice day. Good luck with your applications if you're applying to any other universities, and bye-bye.